Hi, Alice here. I just pulled into Lowe's and I'm here to see encores for fall planting. Encore azaleas are extremely popular. They're a evergreen hybrid. What's so nice about them is that they bloom not only in the springtime, but summer and fall. So you get 3 blooms, and that's like encore. The purpose of this is to have your trips to your garden centers more productive and less stressful. Let's go check out the Encore azaleas and see what's available so that you can decide what might be suitable for your garden. The first one, it's a dwarf. It's 3 to 3.5 feet tall, and this is considered a true red. Here's Autumn Bonfire, and you can see the red. This is Autumn Embers, and it's a dwarf. This one, it's very bushy, full of blooms, so it gives you a good idea of what the blooms look like and the color of the blooms. Another dwarf variety is Autumn Fire, and the card says another true red, and you can see the color of the bloom, and the card lists it as average height is 2.5 to 3 feet. So this is actually smaller than the other dwarfs that we looked at. I stopped by Home Depot. Here's a nice example of the flowers on the Autumn Monarch. And you can see the size. Further down the row is another encore that we are seeing for the first time here at Home Depot. It's called Autumn Empress. This has a medium pink bloom, a semi-double, and an intermediate. Here is an example of the plant. This is Autumn Sundance. You can see all the new growth, the lighter green leaves. Here's Autumn Carnation. It's beautiful, and you can see the shape of the flowers. It's intermediate in size. This is Autumn Sangria, and it's got a beautiful deep pink. It is an intermediate, and you can see the beautiful blooms. You have a lot of choices in the Encore pink. Here is a pot of the Autumn Ivory, an example of the single flower. On the plant label, it's a dwarf. It's the similar information on all of the encores. Sun for 4 to 6 hours, then partial shade, well-drained soil. They like it acid, so soil test is important, and watering requirements are important. They have shallow roots. They need to be mulched, and you need to keep up with the watering, especially if it gets dry and hot. You don't want your plants to dry out and get stunted and have growth failure. You have a huge variety of Encore azaleas to choose from. If you're not familiar with your azaleas, come when they are blooming so you can make sure that the plant that you get is the right color. For example, of pink, because you've got rose, then you've got a lighter pink, and then you've got an even lighter pink. So you want to choose the plant that is going to work for you and what
you want. Other thing about Encore Azaleas is that they have been bred to withstand a little bit more sun than some of the other azaleas. Morning sun is good, and the intense afternoon sun, they could benefit from some partial shade protection. As we get warmer, it's probably a good idea to have a way to mitigate the sun for your azaleas. When you're going to shop for your azaleas, before you come, you need to consider what you have at home in terms of soil, sun, and water. You want to have water available because these are shallow rooted plants. They need to be watered, especially during times of drought. Before you come shopping, think about where you're going to locate your plants so they get 4 to 6 hours of direct sun and afternoon shade. And your soil, get a soil test so you know the pH, what you're working with. If you have neutral to alkaline soil, which is a high pH, then you're going to have to use amendments in order to lower the acidity level or the pH of your soil. And that'll be ongoing. One thing that does help is to mulch your azaleas with either pine bark nuggets, pine bark mulch, or pine straw. All are acidic and they break down and they help nourish the soil and they help you with maintaining a more acidic environment. So most azaleas thrive between a pH of 5 and 6. So when you get your soil test, that's the thing you're looking for. Then in choosing the varieties, think about what you want. Do you want a tall plant that's bushy, like a screening plant? If that's the case, you're not going to be shopping for Encore azaleas. The Encores do well in a planting bed, two sizes. They come dwarf, which is about 3 to 3.5 feet, and they come intermediate, which ranges between 4 to 4.5. Occasionally, I've seen 5, but usually it's 4 to 4.5 feet in terms of their height. For a flower bed, that would make a nice backdrop, the intermediate size. For the middle part of your flower bed, you would want the smaller size, like the dwarf size, which is the 3 to 3.5 feet. Now, the bloom is one thing you want to know about the bloom time. So, if you want blooms spring, summer, and fall, then Encore is your choice. And then color. What color do you want? There are many varieties. Decide what color that you want them to be in your landscape and how is it going to work in with your other plantings. Do you want a specimen with a pop of pink? Do you want something that's more subtle? Do you have other colors going on and you don't want to clash, you want them to blend? It's important to come when the azaleas are blooming so you can see the colors and not just go by what you see on a card or pictures on the internet. And finally, the flower structure. If you want a ruffled looking flower, if you want a single bloom because you want the bees and the butterflies, the pollinators, to be able to come to them, that will determine what you get. They have single blooms, they have semi doubles. Just decide what is the look that you want. and then come shop. So that when you go shopping for your azaleas, you feel more productive in terms of choosing what you want. It's certainly a more enjoyable, less stressful situation. If you go without what you want in mind, it can be overwhelming. I know I've experienced, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And wasting half a day because I couldn't make up my mind. So take the time, think of your 6 criteria: the sun, soil, the water, the bloom time, the bloom color, and the bloom structure. Then go with your shopping list. And maybe you can choose between 2 or 3 things when you're there at the nursery rather than having a whole overwhelming variety of plants to choose from. These are not plant in the ground and go away and expect them to thrive. During times of drought, you need to water at least weekly or twice a week. And the rest of the time, they need moderate water. You need to test the soil periodically. Finger test, 2 inch deep into the soil. 2 inches is to my second knuckle. If it feels moist, you don't need to water today. If it feels dry, you need to water. Azaleas do not like what they call wet feet. They don't tolerate standing water. They need well drained soil. If you have clay soil, amend your soil with organic matter. You could put in pine bark mulch as well as other kinds of organic matter so that the soil drains and it doesn't make a soggy clump like sometimes unamended clay can. They don't like low areas where when it rains the water may stand for a while. They also like to be planted elevated. The top of the root ball is a little bit higher than the soil, and then you mulch at least 2 inches. Some places that I've read say 3 inches with pine bark, pine bark nuggets around the roots to keep the moisture in. And because they have shallow roots, that makes them more susceptible to drying out in direct sun and when it's really hot, and even when it's windy. We looked at a variety of colors. Wow, there are many, many choices, which makes it wonderful. And the flower structure is variable. So you can have open face flowers, you can have ruffles, you can have semi doubles. You just have to decide what is it that you want when you're looking out your window or you're sitting on your patio or you're just walking around. What is it that you want to see? Speaking of walking around your yard, your patio, or by your pool, sometimes you'll see recommendations to use azaleas, especially the dwarfs, as border plants along a sidewalk or a patio. Be careful how close you plant them because most sidewalks and patios and pool areas have cement. Cement causes the soil to be alkaline, and that is not the soil where your azaleas are going to thrive. They need it acid. If your walkway is mulched, then that would be ideal. If it's concrete, you might want to rethink where you place them. You want to be sure that you give them a lot of air. Don't cram all the plants together because they can get black spot and things on their leaves and fungus. So you want to make sure they have enough airflow around them when you're planting them. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Much appreciated. If you have any comments about azaleas and your experience, please share. There are other videos that you may be interested in for more information. And subscribe. Garden Yay! See you soon.